Here's what was going on there, and I remember reading somewhere, some outsider, I don't know, it was L.A. Times or somebody, looking back on this, estimating that the number of kind of self-identified communists in the yard was less than a couple of dozen, and I agree, it's less than a couple of dozen. And they broke down into several major groupings or factions that had a lot of differences in what they were doing, but they had a very outsized level of influence. One thing that was remarkable about a lot of the Marxist-Leninists in the yard, self-identified Marxist-Leninists, is that they're very atypical. Most of them came to the plant because they chose to. Most folks work at NASSCO because they don't have any choice. And at that time in the communist movement in the country, most of the adherents of that movement were university-educated academics or students. They sort of picked up these ideas that, from reading the classic literature of the Communist International and the classics, and through sympathy with national liberation struggles here and there. And they had formed a conclusion that they should, as they sometimes called it, industrialize. That they believed that the proletariat, the working class, was a motive force of history, and it wasn't going to do them any good to sit in universities and debate it. The idea was to get yourself in the industrial workforce and go ahead and take that working class and mobilize it as a social force and use it in a revolutionary way to transform society. So that most of the folks who consider themselves Marxist-Leninists actually chose to be in a place like NASSCO. And there were others who went to aircraft plants, and there were others who, a big thing in the Midwest among similar thinking folks was three industries: coal, steel, and auto. You'd hear that a lot: coal, steel, and auto. You can work in a supermarket or this or that, but those are not things that will give you actual power over the economy and over events. You want to concentrate in coal, steel, and auto. Maybe if they were making that same decision today, they wouldn't maybe analyze it that way, but that's the way they did back then. So a lot of those folks had come in to do explicitly to do what they did at NASSCO, and they came in with first off, they were well educated, and the second is that in addition to just being well educated, they had a specific theory, a science, a technology of how to motivate and organize people. The whole history of the communist movement was at their disposal in a theoretical sense. So they knew an awful lot about how to organize people, how to put people together, what's the relationship between theory and practice and agitation and strategy. And so even a tiny group of people, less than 24 is correct, in a yard that had 6,000 employees at the time. But these folks had a tremendously outside, influence is tremendously outsized compared to their numbers. And a lot of the folks that they had to deal with, both the company and also traditional labor union representatives, folks like Cherokee, just did not know how to deal with these folks. Once I heard the description of the CWP and its dealings with Cherokee, I forget who said it, says Cherokee's playing checkers, Miguel is playing chess.
I heard that. I heard that quote. Yeah.
Yeah. So Cherokee was never a communist, and a lot of the names that you'll find, throughout the stuff that you, even if they were stigmatized in the press as being influenced by communists or something, were never communists. Gwen Ferguson,
Right.
she was never a communist, so she was not. She was certainly open to it, but she wasn't one of those folks who came in from the university environment or something.
She seemed more like a militant.
Yeah, she was a traditional union militant, a lot of fire in her. And so she was kind of attracted by what the CWP was laying out. There were a real mixture of things in the leadership of the unions. You'd have these Marxist-Leninist folks who had often very sophisticated skill sets and elaborate theoretical construct about what they were doing. And on the other hand, you'd have just ordinary union militants who might be progressive or might even be regressive on some things, but they're militant on union issues, sort of mixed in with them. And the self-identified Marxist-Leninists had a tremendous advantage in dealing with those folks. They just had so much more to work with analytically. A lot of times, folks like Cherokee just did not know what the heck he was dealing with.